Welcome, everybody, to the Theory of Conspiracy. My name is Mike. As always, I'm joined with my co-host, Roll. And today we are going to be talking about a little bit about police corruption, cover-ups, and a specific case dealing with Kendrick Johnson. And I don't know much about it. I know that in the case, he was found in a gym and lifeless. And Rolando has a little bit more information on the story. So I'm just going to listen with y'all and ask questions that we might all have. So, Rolando, how's your day going?
Been doing well. I've been recording, working on some new material. I'm actually learning some new instruments. I'm known as a piano keyboard guy, and I've been picking up guitar and ukulele. I've been picking it up fairly quickly for a guy who's been playing it for just over a month.
Nice.
I'm a pretty badass month-in guitar ukulele guy, if I do say
Nice.
so myself.
Well, you should say so. You've always been fast to pick up, the instrumental and the musical stuff. You're a wonderful musician, man. So I'm just I'm happy you're broadening your horizons, because that's just more stuff that you can record and just get out to the world. And your piano chops are second to none. So I'm sure your guitar chops are going to be there soon. So
yeah, it's a great way to just having a new tool to write with or play, or it just makes you think in different ways as far as being able to add something. So yeah, it's been fun. How did that go with your film fest? Did you win any sort of awards?
I did win an award. I won Director's Choice Best Feature. So
Nice.
I was really excited about that. So thank you for bringing that up. But yeah, it was a pretty cool experience all in all. A really nice festival. The backdrop of Austin is always nice, and the hospitality room was the libations were pouring. It was a good time.
And we hardly ever talk about ourselves like this. I think, yeah, we gotta start
Yeah.
doing a little something about
Well,
us, the music and filmmaking side.
yeah. I mean, I think down the road, some doors are opening up for me when it comes to the film stuff. So maybe a little bit Z money is coming this way. So I'm thinking more cryptid, conspiracy, little mini projects, if you will, little longer form stuff. So, and then I need someone to obviously do the score. So I think we're covered. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, we can definitely do that. But we should talk more personal stuff at the beginning, I think, and then get into news and then get into our story. So. But
True.
we're ever evolving over here at the Theory of Conspiracy.
I think the
And
goal is for us to get so big that we become one of the conspiracy theories.
well, I think for
Where
some people we already
is,
are.
is Mike's filmmaking doing some sort of allusions to the something
Well, I guarantee
cover-up?
you, it is. So
Is
you heard it here first.
has Roe been propositioned by Diddy and is secretly an Illuminati slave puppet
Yeah.
with
Well,
his adrenochrome addiction or something like that?
I've been talking to you about that, man, and you got to really kind of chill out with the adrenochrome. It's becoming an issue. I mean, I know it's fun. I mean, I've been there. But you just gotta chill.
Okay. I don't actually drink adrenochrome, if that's what you mean.
Oh, shit. We weren't supposed to say that over the fucking air. No, no, I kid. I don't, I don't want to tell people about our adrenochrome addictions just yet. But let's move
Until
on
we're an episode.
until we're not, yeah,
Future
until we're,
season.
yeah, exactly. So let's get into it. Let's put on our serious faces now and get to business.
Yeah, so last week we talked about conspiracies of the wrestling world, WWE, Vince McMahon, and this is a conspiracy involving a wrestling mat. So this happened back in 2013. Kendrick Johnson was 17 at the time. He was found dead, rolled up in a gym mat at his Georgia high school. And tragedy there, of course, a young man losing his life there. But this has, for the last 10 years, has been a simmering point in the community. If this is something that was just a tragic accident, or if this was a conspiracy within law enforcement, members of the community to cover up the death of this young man here. And it's something that still persists to this day. The reason why this is so it'd still be interesting even 10 years later. The reason why this is a modern episode for us is that the family, just at the tail end of last year, has filed a $1 billion federal lawsuit against the law enforcement agencies involved here.
That's crazy money, dude.
Yeah. So let's talk about what happened. So this was at the Lowndes High School in Valdosta, Georgia here. Let's talk about the timeline a little bit here. So what seemed to happen, and we're gonna again, there's forks in the road like any good conspiracy. You can dig or you can zag here. So we're gonna we're
I'm gonna just chime in whenever I have a question, if you don't mind. Is that all right?
yeah, absolutely.
All right, cool.
So what we know is on Thursday, January 10 in the afternoon, Kendrick was seen entering this gym. Apparently, there were two gyms in this high school. There was an old gym that was still in operation, but not as much as the new gym, and a new gym. Apparently, it, Kendrick, along with a schoolmate of his, would stash their gym shoes under these gym mats, or the gym mats would be on the ground, and just kind of like a flauta or like a taco, and they would
Yeah,
stuff their shoes in there, and I guess they would share shoes, and in between classes, they would go get the shoes there. So sometime in the afternoon, there was footage showing him going into the gym, and he disappeared. His He did not come home that day. His family ended up filing a missing persons report. Sometime the next morning is when he was found, Friday morning in the gym there around 10 a.m. A couple students, a couple classmates noticed some socks sticking out over the top of one of the gym mats. So at this point, the gym mats were
vertical.
hor- yes, vertical, and they noticed some socks sticking out. They went to go check it out, noticed that there was a body in there.
So his feet were in the socks, like kind of sticking out of the mask, kind of deal.
Yeah, they could just see the top of the mat. They saw basically socks
Like
there.
the
They went
top,
to
like
go
the bottom of the foot or whatever. Okay.
yeah, like if the mat is vertical in the air, like he's head first at the very bottom, his feet are at the top there.
Okay. I
So
just
they
want to.
were able to see the socks. Yeah,
Okay.
right.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's some pictures to really paint a picture of what happened here. Some gory details and things like that. So his body was found. They were able to pull down the mats, found that there. There was a pool of blood at the bottom of it from him being upside down for so long, and it was looked at. Coroner's report ruled it an accident, that it was an asphyxiation caused by being trapped in the mat and just being being stuck upside down, which is it's a tragic way to go. I mean, it's like I can imagine being
The fear,
yeah, the fear of screaming out and not anyone hearing you, and just how quick something could happen, just like being in that
right.
situation. I mean, I feel like with all the stupid things I'd done, I was probably, many
Well,
times in situations like
I'll
that.
come out and say it. We used to roll each other up in the mats when I was, in football. We would be there, and there would be mats on the side of the thing, and we'd roll each other up and then like push each other to unroll. We never hung someone upside down or anything, but we've been, pretty close to that, as high school, athletes. We would just fuck around, and it was more of a joke. Like you'd run and like tackle the guy in the mat or whatever, and so yeah, and, totally have been there. But it's definitely something that I'm an arm's length away from
Yeah,
personally.
right. So it was ruled an accident, but the family did not accept that. They did not think that this was something accidental. They were, especially during this time frame, they with a lot of things happening in the media, things with in the black community, people being killed, cover-ups, things like that. So they ended up hiring Benjamin Crump to become their legal advocate. This was someone who was a big figure in the George Zimmerman Trayvon Martin case there. And so with that, they started reopening the cases and getting the body exhumed, and were able to, after the third autopsy, were able to find some inconsistencies here, where they were now saying that it was not caused by being asphyxiated, but that there may have been some injuries and blows to the body, which may have caused that. Another thing that was big that brought it into conspiracy territory is what happened with the body. During the apparently during the coroner's investigation into the body, some of the organs started to decompose badly, started to liquefy. And so what they did is they stuffed the body with newspapers. And apparently there's a practice with that's sort of accepted within funeral homes, whether it be like sawdust or cotton newspapers, sort of a weird one, but it's, to keep the body, I guess, cavity from compressing on itself.
Yeah.
So when the families, you know, um, was having their funeral, saw that the body was now stuffed full of newspapers, started to make accusations that there was a conspiracy at play here, that the either organs were pulled, removed in order to tamper with the evidence, or that their son, that this may have been a situation where they're harvesting his organs, and that's
Oh,
why foul play is suspected there.
it took a turn right there.
Yeah. So, and then it's gonna take another turn. So there was so the family started to get on the offensive there. They started publicizing the picture of Kendrick, his face, like it's a swollen face. It's a pretty gruesome pic on there. They started, and there's a documentary on Amazon Prime as well, about Kendrick Johnson, and I watched it. And watching it, it was very pro. There's a conspiracy afoot here. I came out of it with a different sort of version of what happened there, but with this, they started making comparisons to Emmett Till. Emmett Till was famously lynched, and the mother there, wanting to bring publicity to what happened, had an open casket funeral, wanted everyone to know what they did to their son there. So in this documentary that's being narrated by one of the actresses from the show Blackish, it comes out boldly making these claims, saying this is a modern day lynching, comparing the photos of Kendrick to Emmett Till, saying if you look at the face there, this boy was attacked viciously, and that there was a big cover up there. Where it takes another turn is someone made some accusations there that Kendrick and a white student had gotten into an altercation the year prior over a girl, as teenagers do, and that they suspected that this teenager and maybe a brother of his were the ones who attacked this boy in school and threw his body in there to cover it up. The family goes deeper down that rabbit hole because the one of their fathers is an FBI agent. So that's like connecting the conspiracy. Like, of course, he's an FBI agent. He would be able to harvest his organs, cover it up in the media, cover it up with the coroners, have the uh, FBI, law enforcement bungle the investigation because they want to cover up one of their own. And that's led to a big cry in the community there, in the Georgia community, that there was something suspicious afoot here. And then, yeah,
So go
go
ahead.
for it.
No, I just go ahead to finish it up because I just have a question about like what are the theories, like the original theory of like obviously he was put in there, right? But how is that an accident if someone is put into a mat, left hanging upside down, even if he wasn't beat up, he's obviously been accosted and like battered.
So the working theory, the official story, and we will discuss both. I'm kind of siding with this. Is that what they say happened? Is this was the old gym here? There would be mats typically. Either they were on the floor or they were sort of stood up there. They're saying that what Kendrick and this other boy would do is they would share gym shoes. They would maybe one of the mats would be on the outside. They would lift it up, stick their shoes under there, lift it down, and it was kind of protect. No one knew it was there. Go to the other class. In between classes, come back, get their gym shoes here. What they're
Got it.
saying happened is this mat that they had their shoes under, maybe in the earlier part of the day was then surrounded by other mats that the the janitor, or what do you want to call it, sanitations, or the what's the fancy word for janitor?
Custodian.
Custodian, that's the word I'm looking for. That perhaps custodian had rolled up other mats, and then this mat that was in front initially in the morning where they had put their shoes was now surrounded by a bunch of other rolled up mats. So they're saying what happened is he was now in a situation where he couldn't get to his shoes because it was surrounded by all these other ones. So he climbed at the top of them, was trying to reach down, and these mats are about 6 feet tall.
Hmm.
He's probably 5 feet something. So he was trying to reach down below to grab his shoes there. Uh, Gravity sort of took him down there, and he was able to reach his shoes, but now he can't pull himself up because his elbows are, stuck in the mat, and now he's stuck upside down in a, upright position there.
Yeah.
Some what led to some of the suspicions from the parents is that it's a tight opening. It's to get into,
Yeah. I was gonna say.
and the his shoes were when he was found, his shoes were sort of at waist level. So it creates the two narratives that someone either threw his shoes on top of his body to cover it up, or perhaps when he was going down there to get his shoes, that maybe he tried to throw his shoes above him and they just sort of like landed on his waist there, and that's why they was on top of him like that.
Right.
But that's the official theory, is that it was just a tragic accident there, and really, um
Yeah, I thank you, because I was just trying to say, like, how is this an accident if his head's facing the ground and his feet are up in the air? You know what I mean? But
yeah.
if that's the theory, okay, I can hear that. You know what I mean? And see, okay,
And then, I mean, you could look up his face and why it looks badly swollen, that they're able to make those sort of comparisons to an Emmett Till lynching, but, officially they're saying that's because of the blood,
blood, yeah, the blood,
swelling
yeah,
that's going on there. His nose was bloody, so the parents are saying, well, hey, he was obviously attacked. His blood from his face. Look at how look how it looks there. But the first coroners and medical people are saying, well, no, I mean that's what happens. And so we're 10 years into it, and the family, either they're victims of really not wanting to let this rest because of the tragedy behind it, or they're uncovering a massive conspiracy. And that's kind of where we're at now with this. um so now let's say officially, let's say the official report is correct, it was just a tragic accident. Then maybe the sad part here is that it seemed that the lockers were charged. It was a fee to use the lockers, and that these students perhaps didn't have the money to pay for the lockers. That's why they were using these gym mats, which
sure,
creates, a situation of possibly neglect on the school side to create
yeah,
create
circumstances that
circumstances.
wouldn't normally happen if they just gave everyone a locker.
Right. And then the other part of it is that, there was also a thought that the fees weren't necessarily the issue. It was that from getting to one section of the lockers to, how you have class, and then you have class on like the other side of school, and you have like 30 seconds to get there, and you have to
Oh
get
yeah,
your shoes,
yeah.
and it's like you're always
I-
late.
It's always been ridiculous. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So there's this thought that one of the reasons why they were using that gym was because they didn't have enough time to go back to the lockers, so they were using that old locker there. And then there was cameras in there, but that section, there were cameras in that gym, even though it was sort of the old gym now, and there were kids playing basketball there. So they can see Kendrick walking into the gym, but then as soon as he gets to the area where the mats are, there's no camera footage, which has
Right.
created some, is this a conspiracy? Did they hide it? Or was it just that there was no
W-
working cameras in that section because it
So
wasn't
there
open
were
to.
cameras, but there are no working cameras. Is what their claim is.
Well, there was a camera on one side of it, but I guess there was not a camera on that side. So it wasn't so
Right.
much that someone made the footage go away, just that they weren't there because they're looking at it.
Non-existence. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was like a storage gym at that point. Even though it was still being used, it was in the process of being phased out for this new gym.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah, so the There is that documentary I mentioned. It's called Finding Kendrick Johnson, and it goes, as I mentioned, it makes a lot of comparisons to Emmett Till, and and I think being conspiracy guys, right? Like we
Sure,
can,
sure.
or even like a Reddit. I was looking at this on Reddit, and I found two threads, and very much like I live in this world, you live in that world, where it's like, oh, poor family, this is just an accident. Yet they won't let it go. I'll let it rest. This is clearly an accident. And then the other Reddit is like, how do people think this is an accident? This is clearly conspiracy and la da
Yeah,
da. It's
her dad
FBI.
was in the FBI, right,
It was
right.
for organ harvesting. Yeah, and even the woman who went on the View, what was her name? Let's see, Finding Kendrick. Now, one thing I did want to say here is, do you have an opinion on the View, the show on NBC or ABC or one of those
I mean,
shows?
it's not my favorite.
Oh,
I don't really watch a lot of talk
yeah,
television.
I don't
I
either.
yeah, but I mean, I worked in news for a little bit, and I had enough talk television on that programming for a lifetime. So, I really enjoyed my time there. It was what it is, but I just I think it's all bullet points that they all just kind of they create this the discrepancy, and they always have a little argument, but it's all scripted.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? So that's what that's it's not that I don't like it. It's just I don't like that it's kind of fake in the sense that it's scripted before it happens. You know,
yeah. I was gonna say I think they're made up of a collection of some of the dumbest people on TV. Just my point of view.
that's I I don't disagree with that either. So
Yeah.
yeah,
But yeah, she had went on the show. Who was the narrator again? From this
Whoop-
was
was it
directed
Whoopi?
by Jason Pollock, huh?
Was it Whoopi?
No, it was
Oh,
she
you're talking
wasn't.
about the View. Are you
Yeah,
talking?
Jennifer Lewis. She's an actress on Blackish, and she's a narrator of
She's
this documentary.
was
And
she the mother on Blackish?
I believe so. Yeah, she's an
Yeah,
older,
I know who she is. Yeah. Mhm.
very like authoritative voice.
Okay, cool. I mean,
And,
was the documentary well produced?
um, it was well produced, sure, ish,
Okay.
just like
All
the
right.
show Blackish.
Let me hear your thing.
I just felt like it was one of those documentaries, and as I see, they all kind of are like this now, that had a viewpoint, and they're trying to fit everything to that, which is that this was a big cover up and that this was a modern day lynching, and they relied heavily on that. As far as the facts itself, I was left with the opinion that yes, this was a tragic accident. I don't see that it seemed too everything was just too airtight. They're trying to accuse these young brothers, the Bell brothers, whose dad was an FBI agent, that they had something to do with it. Yet they have an alibi that they were on a bus ride going to like a sporting event because of the teams they were on. They were trying to do some sort of narrative that he was.
And the bus ride that's been confirmed by a bunch of people.
Yeah, it's the whole team was like, no, he was with us the whole time, so he didn't have time to commit murder inside of a high school today because he was busy.
That's pretty rock solid. There would be like, oh no, there would be at least a couple people that said no, he wasn't there if they didn't see him.
Yeah,
E- even if they're trying to cover something up. Yeah.
yeah, and there's another part of the documentary where they were because they asked that kid if he had run into him that day, and he said he didn't. And then they were trying to show footage of like, look, they were in the same hallway, and they were, but they were like around the corner, and they didn't really see each other. But the camera's like, you guys were in like 20 feet vicinity,
Sure,
so you
sure.
must have killed him. But it's like you can't just like,
So they interviewed the suspects or the conspiratory suspects as well in this.
oh yeah, their house got raided by the FBI. It was like a 50-person raid, and they've the filmmakers have said like, "Hey, you're not gonna just raid their house unless there's something to it." But they raided their house and they didn't find anything to it there.
Oh wow.
With that, the young boys have actually lost out on scholarship opportunities as well because their names have been, linked to you guys are murderers, even though they're doing well academically and in sports. It has affected them, which is kind of a sad thing for them if they're not indeed murderers. Which
Mhm.
I don't see them being able to murder someone and harvest their organs in a high school gym at the same time. But
Yeah, right.
I did want to share something here. So I do think it's worth watching that documentary just because I feel, yeah, it paints a very.
Could you see someone being like if I watch this, is it possible where I'm like, no, we're in total disagreement, Rolando?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, just looking at the Reddits, this whole world is very much a perception versus reality based, and it's just very crazy how some people can be on, opposing
Well,
sides, and we'll
your
look at,
perception is your reality,
well,
Rolando.
perception is reality, but
All right.
it's just interesting that we can come to vastly different conclusions there on what reality is.
Yeah.
And I mean, watching this is very much, it's it's not I- when I originally saw documentaries, period, the first time, I thought it was just a series of facts being presented to you where you would make up your own argument, my own perception.
Uh,
I
it has evolved into like gotcha documentary stuff. There are still some documentaries, mine included, that is I'm just presenting what happened for that time period within a year. That's a very specific. There's different genres in documentaries as well. A lot of people don't understand that. And then there's the gotcha documentaries, as I like to call them, where it's like you have a complete agenda. It's totally you might believe that the facts are true, but it's totally biased. Your YouTube esque documentary, if you will. Where it's like you're leaning to a side for sure. It's not found
Right.
footage. You're right. Okay.
Yeah, where you're wondering like, yeah, this whenever this person's on screen, I really believe they're the killer. I don't know why. I don't know why I believe that, but I really believe it. It could be the dramatic music that they play anytime they're on scene. It could be the way the camera's framed, the way that they're always shown to maybe be in a uh if the narrative is that this person is the bad guy, they're going to present the the footage that kind of shows them in that light. Or if they're not any longer, now they're our friend. And so I've seen that. Like Paradise Lost was one of the first big documentaries that I thought was really, really good. And then looking back at it, I was like, actually, I think it's very, very biased. And I see a lot of documentaries, and they're still entertaining, but I think
Right.
I just like,
Well, every documentary is slightly biased. I
yeah,
mean, it really is because, like you said, perception is your reality. The documentarian has a perception of what the story should be or what they're perceiving, so they want to convey what they're perceiving.
right. And I look at it
Um,
more like that. Instead of just being a vehicle of presenting facts, I look at it like it is presenting a interpretation of those facts, and
sure.
that's what indeed it
And,
is.
and that's
And
how you should watch documentaries, really, honestly and truly. And you might be aligned with that person, and that person might be telling the truth 100%. Like honestly, some of the most honest documentaries are the true crime documentaries that have been solved in the sense that they know what happens and they have the account of the murderer.
right,
Or and that's you look at a serial killer documentary or something like that. They're interviewing the Iceman, Hitman on HBO is a big one. There's a documentary where they talk to multiple serial killers in it, or those are usually broken down in the television shows or whatever. But those are probably the most honest and unbiased ones because you have the actual account of what's happening by that. But even then, those stories change and those murderers, have their spin on their story or their reality, But yeah, no, it's totally, especially if it's unsolved, like and the director is biased, you're gonna see like you said it perfectly. Oh, I don't know why I don't understand why I think this guy's done it. And it's like, okay, well, you have like a low angle fucking medium shot on the guy looking up. He looks ominous, like he's standing over you. Also, the music that you put on, is ominous. So no, you're absolutely right. So
yeah,
I'm gonna actually check out this documentary because that I gotta see for myself which way I lean, because I
yeah,
I'm green to it. I don't know. I'm new to it.
right, exactly, yeah. So finding Kendrick Johnson, Yeah, so if you're very much going into the thinking that there's something to this crime, or something to this mysterious murder, then yeah, you'll come out of it with a sense of anger, all of these, the FBI, and we do a freaking conspiracy show. There's a certain level of suspension of this. I don't. Well, I wouldn't even want to say that, but there's a lot of stuff where like I believe that's totally happening, but I think for this there was a
There's
lot of different parties would have to be working together to cover up this high school, this high school tragedy here, and I just like it just didn't add up to me. So yeah, I would say if you believe it, you're gonna come out of it with a sense of anger, and yes, let's go protest these FBI guys. If you are, kind of looking at it for what it is, you may say, yeah, I don't. Sorry guys, I don't think so. I don't.
well, I'll say this. I would, this is just my perception of the situation. I would have thought that you would lean towards, of course the FBI did it because that's just you always. It's like, of course the FBI did it. Of course the CIA did it. So for you to come out and say this is, I'm just,
Maybe
I'm just saying, and I'm biased because I'm on the show with you and I know you and stuff like that. But hey, man, it's just that's our point to the show is like,
yeah.
the political stuff, the other stuff, like there are two different camps always. Even with the January 6th stuff, like me and you, I'm just like you're crazy, and you look at me and you're like you're fucking crazy, and it's just
Well,
it's
there's been some stuff. I think at the beginning, I was gonna be the Mulder guy, the believer, and you were gonna be the skeptic Scully. And there's been some stuff where you've actually come out and on the other side where you're like, nah, I believe this crazy stuff, and I've come out and like, actually, I don't. I believe that's let's go Occam's razor on this, and let's go with the simple explanation.
of
And
course, yeah, of course, yeah, absolutely, and that's what it is. I think it people and honestly, I know I guess I'm say this. I'm intelligent enough to decipher that I don't really know fucking jack shit. I have my opinions, and a lot of people will die on a hill just because they don't want to be wrong. Where if I'm proven wrong, it's like, oh, cool, at least I know now, And I think you're kind of in a similar camp, at least with that. So we try our best to, let you know about Miami aliens and the Epstein stuff and yeah. And Tartaria. We always got to bring up Tartaria.
yes, oh, my favorite. Yeah, I like to think I have a pretty good bullshit detector, and there's some stuff where, yeah, I'll lean firmly into crazy land where I'm like, I don't believe the official stuff. I this crazy thing is what makes sense to me. There's some times where I see something interesting, like this is an interesting case, and I was, looking at all angles of it, and at the end, I just was like, my spider sense isn't going off on this one here.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check this out. I'm gonna have to check this out. But no, I agree with you. I'm the same way in that regard. But I
But
it's tragic either way, dude. Like, I mean, it's just fucking sad. Loss of life is always sad. The family is obviously distraught, and you know what? If it comes out that there's like some bombshell evidence that this is an FBI cover up for a couple of high school kids, we'll be the first ones to tell you.
right.
But
I did want to share this one excerpt here. This is with the director of the documentary, who is Jason Pollock. He famously had did a documentary years before about the killing of Mike Brown called Stranger Fruit, and he's the one who did this documentary here. And he says some things which sort of set off my bells there, where I'm like,
your bullshit detector.
yes, so my bullshit detector. I was like, okay, well, if that's your opinion on it going into it, well, yeah, no wonder you're so one-sided on it. And that's, I think with the whole theory of conspiracy, right? We like to play all angles and, give at least room for it. Where I think part of what we both agree on is people who try to silence their competitors or the opposing opinion, we don't agree with that. We think like,
Sure.
let's give racists a platform, because if they're spouting
Uh,
nonsense and stupid stuff, they're not gonna, we're gonna call it out and get these
right. Right. I'm going to just section off that audio and just have that first line be the tagline for this episode and just be the poster child. Let's give racists.
Well, I've heard that, like, with
Let's
Twitter,
give racists a voice.
or just anything. Let's give
Rolando, what?
let's
No,
give
no, I hear what you're saying. No, you have to, no, it's a slippery slope. Free speech is a slippery slope. If you start saying, oh, you can't talk about this, and and honestly though, the same goes on the other, on the other, and I don't want to say other side. I don't think if you're racist, then you automatically, but for far left stuff as well, like those people have a right to say whatever the fuck they want as well. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, no, you're absolutely right. It's just,
'Cause I think, because with those definitions, right, we're saying, oh, well, we shouldn't let racists. And in my point, like, I should say I've said racist, but it just sometimes we're quick to say, oh, you're a racist, you're a fascist, you're a communist, you're a whatever. We shouldn't have a discussion with you, and I think that's unfair because oftentimes you may not be that. The whole, like, J.K. Rowling, oh, she's transgenderish, she's against that, and you can look at some of her quotes, and it's like, well,
it's taken out of context, just like I'm going to
taken out
take
of context.
just like I'm going to take yours out of context and just fucking
Right, to ruin my whole credibility. Right, and then all of a sudden, you censor them, and you censor anyone like them, and it's sort of, you become the fascist yourself by thinking that you're protecting everyone from, oh, this evil speech, but it's
Yeah,
and
all right. So same coin, different side, right? You have like these evangelical, House representatives or whatever, and they're like, well, you can't have this book in the library because it's got transgenderism in it and it's got homosexuality innuendos in it, and it's just like, well, you know what? It's the if the shoe's on the other foot, you know what I mean? Like you can't tell. Everyone needs to shut the fuck up. If you don't want to fucking read the book, you think the person's a racist, you think that you don't agree with their sexuality stance or whatever, just don't fucking read the book. You know what I mean? Like that's where I kind of stand. You know what I mean? You got evangelicals burning books. That's literal fascist shit. You got leftist, uh the funniest one that I heard recently, it was some guy telling a story. It wasn't like on the news or anything like that, but he's like, yeah, I got in trouble because I called, I was like, oh, females, and it's like, females a derogatory term, and you know what I mean? So like now the word female is a derogatory term. I guess it could be used in a derogatory way, but any word can, so where's the line? Like, you know what I mean? Like, where is, now we can't, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm butchering that story, but the general consensus is it was some super feminist woman, and she's like, yeah, I was with this female, and she got mad at me because I was telling an off-color joke, and she's like, female's a derogatory term, you can't use that term, female. And it's just like, okay, well, that's the definition of a lady, so and that guy very well might be a fucking dick, right? And he might be saying off-colored shit, and that's fine. But like, you're gonna censor a female because somebody used it in the way you didn't like it used. Anyway, my point being is everyone needs to chill the fuck out. Everyone has a right to say whatever they want, and if you don't believe that, you can suck this Yankee Doodle dick. So
Yankee Doodle dick. Well, there's
yeah,
your quote for this episode.
yeah.
But let me share this blurb here, and I'm going to read it quote for quote, and you tell me what you think about it. I was just reading this interview with the director, the Jason
And I'm
Pollock.
sorry I went off on a fucking diatribe. I get hot under the collar. I get hot under the collar about that shit, dude.
Yeah, but just based on what the question is and based on the answer, you tell me if you tell me if there's any leaning on there.
Lay it on me.
So the question was that, to the director. There's more questions, but this one just really stuck out. How did you maintain objectivity in a story that is so deeply personal to the people involved and really focuses on their experience over anyone else's? Question. Here's his response. I think that it is very important in our journalism and art culture that we have the op-ed, and did I not feel that it was necessary to interview white people in Valdesta about this story because there were already 8 years of records of what they thought about it. I think what the film does is unspin this story, this white rehashing of listening to what the other side has to say. Well, in this case, the other side is lying. So why are you giving them airtime? It's that whataboutism that Trump was pushing so much and that the media plays into. But whataboutism is propaganda, and Kendrick was a victim of that for 8 years down there. So there's none of that in my movie because those are all lies. The only thing that are in my movie are data points in their own paperwork. I don't suggest anything, hypothesize, or even come up with any theories. I'd show data and line it up in such a way so you can see what happened because they would never do that. They're going to spin it. I just stuck to the facts of the case and I didn't let white arrogance enter the cycle. The regular media is constantly spinning. So I thought that was
So,
interesting that he's
so,
like,
so, okay. So, how about this? We haven't talked about this then. So, trying to be as unbiased as I can. Okay. Um, there's obviously been young black men, murdered over the course of decades in this country. It's not that's a fact. All right, what are the data points that he's talking about? Like I haven't watched the film. Like, what were some of the data points where he's like, no, couldn't be him falling, you know, tragically to his death. So now I'm going to play devil's advocate with you a little bit here. Like, what were the things that, that were the lies? Like, what are the lies that the white people are telling? And then what are the data points that he stuck to that, and you don't have to remember them all, but if there's something that comes across like this was the smoking gun in their argument, like what was the smoking gun in their argument that the two white kids were the murderers,
yeah, that's the thing is that I look at what he's saying and I would disagree and say, well, actually, you are sticking a lot of theories in there without a whole lot of data points to even line up the kids as this aggressor. Because even from some of the stories that have come out, that yeah, these guys had a fight a year ago, but they have since made up and were actually friends, so that this guy wasn't necessarily looking to murder this kid on that day. Um, yeah, I just disagree. I think you should watch the documentary, but I feel like he actually does the opposite of that. He does try to spin it to show a certain way. I feel like it constantly
Oh, there
relies on this
wasn't there
whole
was
Emmett
like
Till thing.
there was I'm sorry to interrupt. It relies on the Emmett Till thing. I apologize for stepping over you there. But so there's no smoking gun. There's no, like, in your opinion, I guess, like there's no like got him, like, like he was like there's this and there's documents missing, or is there anything that is even suspect, or is it just all, you know
Well,
uh
there are some documents that are redacted that they had to, as documents often are. But even that, I just didn't, from my recollection on some of those, there was nothing that was huge, like gotcha to me. Yeah, the organs was like a interesting thing, but then it just seemed like it's just a kind of a weird, like the weird funeral home thing. It's like I think we
right,
discussed funeral homes on here before that it's kind of one of those things that are passed down from generation to generation. You're kind of born into the funeral home
right.
industry there,
Yeah, we know a little
and
bit about it. That's where we get our adrenochrome, so I mean it's
yeah, so it's like, okay, they use newspaper. It's like, yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's some weird stuff with that. I mean, the whole like I'm a big cremator guy, yeah, as you know,
yeah.
with fire. I think the whole idea of like painting up a body to have an open casket funeral is, and this is I get certain people's views on things, but it's a little counter to what the body wants to do. It's like, let the body decompose. Let's stick all these chemicals and things and let's preserve it. It's like, it's
Yeah, I mean, honestly, dude, burn me or make, I saw one of those bio tree things.
yeah, the like natural way where
Yeah.
you're not putting all the chemicals in there. You
Right.
just basically
Let
wrap
the
them.
let the
I'm with
worms
that.
let the worms eat me, bro. Let
Yeah,
them eat
yeah,
me.
yeah. I'm with that as well. So that's why when you're doing this whole makeover session for death, it's like I can see weird things coming into play because it's like you're doing things counter intuitive to the body.
Right, and also, and I'm gonna be ignorant as fuck even bringing this up, but like I can imagine that if you, like, I know for a fact I have family, officers, that are officers or whatever, close friends of the family, more so they're like family. But if like a body is, I've been told that, like, if a body is like sitting in a spot, like the blood pools to the lowest area, right? So like if he's hanging upside down and there's not like enough blood flow to these organs, I can imagine that affects the organs if all the blood is just pooling up around the shoulders, neck, and head. You know what I'm saying? So, um, I don't know, but I would make an assumption that that can't be good, and you know what I mean. So anyway, just
Right. Yeah,
thought,
and that
invasive
seems to
thought
be
popped into my head. So,
yeah.
but
So it has been reopened. There was a new sheriff who's brought in after claims of racism and cover-ups by different law enforcement agencies on a local level, on a national level. The new sheriff, who new sheriff of the town, reopened it and pretty much came to the same conclusions that yeah, everything was
what
done
about that
properly.
third autopsy that you're talking about, where there was
Well, it was the first two came up and basically matched each other. That yeah, this was just this was an accident. The third one was where they found basically that there could have been something more to it. So is this a case of with the the guy from the George Zimmerman, it could be possible, like, how you see some of these guys, the, not Farrakhan, what's, Jesse Jackson and some of these guys that you see come up and they're like, "Oh, there's racism happening over here and something happened here," and, the almost like ambulance chasers. Is that a case of this here where they're looking to create some sort of, national, uprising and tragedy and maybe have certain people can that are in their pocket that'll say this, or did they find something on that third one,
right,
because the
right.
first two missed it? Yeah, that's one of the mysteries here. I just think that based on what they're saying, what they're trying to come to the conclusion of, and this is in their big lawsuit, is that John Does made up of representatives from the local law enforcement and FBI's were part of covering up the body. They killed him and they dumped his body there, and it just doesn't seem like that happened based on at least what I think.
Yeah, how can they dump the body if there's cameras going in and out of the thing? Yeah, no. I'll have to watch this documentary because I don't wanna be, "Hey, oh, yeah, I agree, with you 100%," because that's just not how we roll here, but I'm definitely gonna watch it. What's
Yeah,
it one more time for the audience if they wanted to check it out?
Finding Kendrick Johnson.
Okay. That
Yeah, by
sounds
all
good.
means, if I missed something there too that I need to give it a, rewatch, it's just I came out of it just thinking
Yeah, I
I
mean,
just
if you guys watch it and you disagree with Rolando, and I'll watch it and I'll, probably, uh I don't know. We agree on a lot of stuff actually, but just send us an email at theory of conspiracy at gmail.com, and we'll bring it up again on the show and just say, hey, oh, well, this is the person that listens to us. This is their point of view on the situation, and we'll give you a little shout out too. So, but yeah, anything else with the Kendrick Johnson stuff? Or should we put a bow on this one and call it a day?
think so. Yeah, I mean, as much as I'd love to uncover, national cover up of organ harvesting of students, in our high schools, I didn't see that in this one.
Gotcha.
But I think it just speaks to
No, it speaks to what we talk about on a weekly basis. Is that like, yeah, you have one perception, I have one perception. It's,
right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. For sure. And yeah, it's as far as like why some are given a platform while others aren't, but it's just either way it's a tragedy, but it's a young man caught, cut down in the prime of his life, 17, and it's a sad way to go. I mean, who the hell wants to hear bad news when your kid's in high school and should be coming
right.
home and doesn't come home? I mean, it's terrible. It's a very sad, especially that way.
Yeah.
It's one of the, I don't know. I mean, thinking about that and thinking how long you must have been trapped if it happened the way it happened. If it was an intentional murder, blow to the head, and hey, that's almost like a blessing, like if it's something quick. But if you were actually trapped there and died slowly and screaming for dear life and no one could hear you because no one goes to that gym, man,
brutal.
my sincerest condolences there. But yeah, it's an interesting one there, and I think there's more similar cases, mysterious deaths in schools and things like that. So a thread I'll try to follow up on. But yeah, that's all I want to cover on Kendrick Johnson and the mysterious death of a teen found in a rolled up gym mat.
That's fucking crazy, dude. That was a twist and turning story right there. Well, guys, if you want to see more, we'll have some an Instagram post with maybe some of the documents and some of the pictures of Kendrick. So go over to Instagram and check that out. Give us a follow over there. If you're not following on where you listen to your podcast, just hit that follow button and hit that bell so you're notified when we come on. We're back in the saddle. The last 2 weeks, we're revving back up here. So we're gonna, Wednesdays, once a week, just to remind you. That's usually what we're gonna do as we progress. As always, have a healthy distrust. And Rolando, use final words as always.
Stay weird, everybody, and until next time.